Well, thank you for coming. Can take a few moments to relax ourselves, take a deep breath. And as you exhale, bring yourself the idea of letting go of any fear, negativity, or tension within your body. As you physically relax. I feel also take this opportunity to tell you that I'm not here to teach you anything. The only thing I do is share my perspective about some subjects, share my experience, and as we touch into what I perceive to be universal knowledge, so I could in this sense remind you of some ideas that you might have forgotten. So anyone would like to bring something, a question, something that would like to explore, relevant at this time, at this place? Okay, yes, please.
I've been feeling lately that a lot of shifts are happening inside of me, and a new being is being born, and everything that I knew till now, things that I've been working with, and some concepts and ideas, I forgot about them. It seems that they are not in, even if I want to talk about, I can't. And I feel that all my chakras, they have been unified in the heart and in my third eye. And I feel a little bit confused now about what's next, or how to integrate all this shift that is happening. But maybe it's my mind who wants to try to label and to understand what is happening. It's like if it's almost that I realize that I can experience different aspects of myself now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if this makes sense what I'm saying. It's just like, everything that I knew till now disappeared from my mind.
Yeah, well, congratulations, yeah.
And now, how to live into this new being, how to, I don't know.
How to deal with your new state of awareness.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, also congratulations. Yeah, it's an amazing moment in your existence. Well, less you worry about, easier it gets. Basically, you just need to be yourself and be real, true to yourself and true to others, by living in the moment, living in the now, as you said, you function in a different way, and more it's going to be hard for you even to go to the path or project yourself into the future. Yeah, so this implies a different approach. Yeah. Naturally, as you said, your mind still will bring you like old questions, doubts, test your certainty, with small challenges. It's all part because, as you said, it is new. It is important that you balance your introspections with moments of silence, pure contemplation. And as you said, your chakras were unified within your heart. So you just be aware of that heart space where you perceive universal, unconditional love.
Sometimes I feel like I can hold this space. I can, sometimes I feel the infinite being that I am, and I'm there. And sometimes it just goes.
Okay. Well, in reality, what you have is just an experience, but it is not real. The experience that you lost the state, it cannot be real. You just lost the experience of it. You cannot be disconnected, you see. It's just an experience of disconnection. Because these understand that there are fluctuations within your state, within your frequency. As you bring your attention outwards into the outer world and inwards in your heart space, this causes some fluctuations within your frequency, depending where you are and with who you interact. Okay? So, when you are in a lower frequency, let's say, that you perceive that you lost it, be aware of that thought, because this can put you in a state of insecurity and allow you to waste a lot of time and energy unnecessarily. Because if you believe that you lost it, what your mind will bring to you is, what do I need to do to get it back? Okay? So, when you get into this mindset, you project into yourself time-space, means that you lower your frequency. Also, you condition the state, and the state to be sustained must be unconditional. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So, be aware of that and don't hold to that idea is my recommendation to you, because it's just you having the experience that you lost it. As you allow yourself time and space to transmute that energy, naturally, the experience of that pure love will be just there. Yeah.
And about just one more question. About I feel that I'm still working in some beliefs that are not beneficial for me anymore. So I can reprogram these beliefs, my subconscious mind, new beliefs that can match into this new frequency that I am vibrating, starting to feel. Yeah. Or is that any other programming? Or should the state should be a neutral state without?
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand the point. It's about defining and redefining some beliefs. And as you go deeper into this, you start to actually validate opposite beliefs, where naturally you'll get more and more into this neutral space, you see. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, so but it's a natural process, and it's part of that process, the definition and redefinition of those beliefs. Very important. And it's just natural. That's what I said before you arrived. Has to do with the balance between meditation and introspection. So relax. Everything is going just fine. Right?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Usually there is this, I would call it unconscious and conscious desire to run away from any negative emotion. And this comes mainly from the difficulty to deal with those emotions. But in reality, any negative emotion, it's an indicator for you to have a look at some aspect of yourself, of your expression, of your life that you need to work upon. Basically, your expression comes from the belief, from the interpretation, not from the situation. One may say, I feel sad because my husband left me, or this happened. In reality, that's not the case. The experience comes from the interpretation, the story that one tells himself about the situation. The situation itself, as everything that happens within the universe, is neutral. It serves a negative and a positive purpose. It depends from where you look. So as you have throughout your life a negative emotion, this is an indicator that you fall in the belief, a story, a concept, a definition that is out of alignment with your true self. Maybe it was relevant to you, it assists you in your journey, but it doesn't serve you anymore. So by understanding this, you welcome fear as an indicator for you to have a look at something, work upon something, integrate some fear, some doubt, some insecurity. Is anyone like to bring something else at this time? Any specific fear, something that keeps popping up within your consciousness and disturbing.
I'd like to ask.
Yes, please.
There's a topic that arose in my mind about the boundaries. Like, sometimes I have a feeling that I lost my boundary, like with myself to other people or in my relationship. Like, I don't have the specific barrier, or I don't know. Sometimes I lose myself. Like, what's me? What's my relationship? And where are the other people? Like, sometimes I don't know where to stop, or where to let go of the situation. And sometimes I get stuck, and I feel really like lost in the situation. So, and I get really bad feeling, or I'm really lost, like I don't know so this is the topic that they're all.
Yeah, very interesting topic. Very interesting topic. Thank you. Very interesting. Well, one of the main purpose of relations is for us to get to know ourselves better. It's only through relations to relate to others that we can actually get to know ourselves better and experience creation. I feel relevant to say that the time has come for us to open up, let go of fear, of suffering. And what I mean by opening up is allow the creation, the establishment of deeper connections, soul-to-soul connections, heart-to-heart connections. In relation to what you just said, I feel relevant to share what I perceive to be your space of responsibility. How far does it come, your responsibility? Meaning, responsibility, the ability to respond, response, ability. How far does it go? Your responsibility is what you do, what you say, what you think, and what you feel. This is your responsibility, mainly. What others feel, think, say, or do, that's their responsibility. But your reaction to what happens outside of you, it has to do with you. In establishing borders, we can go back to this, what I just said before, which is when you experience a negative emotion, the tendency to somehow escape, run away from these sort of, sometimes we can call it confrontations, more like interactions. On this planet, the humans, the soul, and within the human experience, have experiencing a lot of difficulties to interact with in harmony in a space of mutual growth, in a way that when there are contradictory beliefs, perspectives, it's very easy that interaction turns into discussion, where fear is amplified and no one learns anything. Communication does not flow. Yeah, in any interaction, naturally, as you interact with others around you, you can express yourself, telling, if something happens around you that is out of alignment towards yourself, or in their behaviors, that you feel to express yourself in a certain way, you should do that. You should never be afraid to express yourself and say what you think and what you feel. This expression should be done in balance between saying what you think and thinking what you say. Try not to express yourself from a space of reaction. When you feel the energies or there is some tension within the fields, it is better sometimes to just move away, allow yourself some time and some space. If you perceive that there was something within your expression out of alignment with your own belief system, you can always address the other person and say, well, I did that, I'm sorry for this. I recognize was not so correct. I will do my best not to do it again. But on the other hand, if the other treats you in a way that you felt not being respectful towards yourself, you can then approach the other soul and express that. If it's someone that remains within your fields, it is important that you address this interaction with sensibility, because you're touching a sensitive point. So you could, say, I don't meant to offend you or anything, but there is something here. Can I talk to you? Ask permission. To see if there is receptivity, openness to address that point. If you say to someone, this is my border, don't move any further, if the other soul does not respect that, you are in a position to repeat that. And more clear you are, better it is. Because from the beginning, if you clear, this is my borders, then the possibility that someone would do something to go beyond those borders is being reduced. Again, you need to be very clear about those borders, so you can express that clearly to someone else. If you have a certain level of integrity, you respect others, you listen to others, you take care of others, so that's your level, that's your standards. You can decide that only to allow people within that level, so to speak, to be in your interspace. If they do not act within those levels, you can always tell them that's where you stand, and if they want to relate with you, they should do something about it. It depends also on the level of connection, intimacy you have with that specific soul. Because we're talking about different degrees of awareness. Does this somehow assist you?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. To communicate in harmony, it's art, needs to be practiced. It's very easy to trigger someone. You're having a conversation with someone, a simple conversation about any subject at all. But within your communication, you bring some perspective that you have, and you can say, well, I think men are nice, and imagine that the other soul has trauma from the past with men, so this soul will automatically get triggered and feels attacked, and is gonna, lower the frequency instantaneously. It's like boom, So automatically the field changes, If you're not aware of that you trigger someone, you can easily get caught in a discussion. As you feel that energy within yourself, thinking that you are getting nervous, you identify with that energy and you respond. Your words will carry that negativity, and this can be easily amplified. So presence is the key. And sometimes the best is just to remain in silence. Respond within the silence, relaxing the other, and There is a lot of trauma in society, a lot of fear. So, Does anyone would like to bring something else at this time?
I think just maybe
Yes, please.
relating to the subject we're discussing, but like, well, it's kind of two questions. One, we were talking about borders, and it happens that two different people that interact, they have different borders, and somehow it seems that the borders of one are crossing the borders of the other. So for both of them to keep their borders would be practically impossible.
No. Has to do with open communication. Open communication. Express your borders, and if you manage to do that, then you establish borders. And those borders can have different particularities. It's about respecting the other. What for you it's just okay, for other it's just not okay. It's about understanding that everyone is unique and everyone has his own ideas about their own space, and about their privacy, about their intimate space. It's different from soul to soul. Of course, if you find a soul that resonates within alignment with yourself, within your energy, put it this way, at that time, you're going to feel a certain resonance, and the relation will just happen in ease. But if you meet souls that vibrate in a different frequency, already by approaching that soul, there is going to be tension within the fields. So it's like an explosive environment. A word can trigger, stuff, so it's very easy to just have difficulties to have this communication in ease. You feel, instead of attraction, maybe you feel repulsion, because different frequencies cause that experience. And it's all fine. It's all fine. Understand that you don't have to love everybody. You don't have to please everybody. Some people just don't like you, even that they don't know you, and that's just fine. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no problem. It's just to believe. But you had kind of two questions, no?
yeah, so the second
Yes.
second part is more, it relates to what you were saying about when things are triggered.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's better to be silent at that moment and not like get sucked into this kind of vortex of response and like reaction, like quick reaction.
Definitely, yeah.
So in a way, my question is about how much to go into other people's issues, how much to like what is the balance of like staying silent and just letting the other person express whatever they want,
Yes.
and even if you, for example, think that you have a good suggestion or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe you have something to say to help, but then again, understanding that we are all coming from different perspectives, so maybe just remaining silent is actually the best answer. So yeah, that's my question around this subject of like.
Yes, I understood.
And it goes also to like being a teacher or being a mentor, or, you know, like in a way, like, can you really be a mentor? Can you really help someone? Or you understand?
Yes, perfectly. Well, when you talk about if one should stay in silence, important to perceive these two levels of silence. One thing is verbal silence, another thing is inner silence. As you remain in a mental stillness, you will vibrate in a high frequency. Therefore, the electromagnetic field around you is extremely powerful. And not just that, is also as there is a heart-to-heart communication and an energetic communication, other souls, when they approach you within that state, they will feel confidence, they will feel your presence, they will feel your love, and they will naturally open up to you. Also, I feel to say to you that a simple question: how are you doing? You will and see what comes. If you feel that the other soul is just not okay, but if they say, "Oh, it's just fine," this is a clear indication that that soul doesn't want to open towards you, at least at that time. If at any point during the interaction, during the conversation, you can always ask, do you want to know my opinion about it? I know a few things. Want me to share a few ideas with you? It's so simple. And then listen to the answer. If the other goes, yes, I would like to, then you have free space. Free space. You see?
But isn't it that sometimes people are like, instead of looking inside, they're actually like yearning for someone to tell them what is the truth, and then you step into this thing at this moment because they will not tell you, like, no, I don't want your opinion. They will tell you, yes, for sure, tell me your opinion, but is it still the right thing for them? That's my question.
Oh, from a space of guidance, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, as you roll into that silence, and something comes from that silence that you feel to share to the other soul, is always the correct thing. There is no mistakes, otherwise you would not say that. The interaction is created by all intervenients. The only thing is, later, if something pops up, some insecurity upon yourself, from a neutral space, check what's there. If there was something within the interaction that in the future you would see it that you would do it differently, that's called learning. What I tend to do is always allow space in silence within the interaction by remaining in a mental stillness, allowing the other to express yourself. And if the other doesn't say anything, I share the silence with others, which is just a beautiful thing. That's actually, I wouldn't say all the time, but many times a beautiful present you do to share your silence with someone. And as you, from a space of guidance, give something to someone, allow them also time to process, to digest. And they will naturally come to you if they feel like, and address some more details about that specific situation, another aspect, and if they don't, then it's okay. Understand that you don't have to, it is not in your role to save anyone. And the intention to help also, it can cause you, and it has been causing you some frustration, because you hold to some expectations. As you, from a space of guidance, you give some indications, then you have some sort of expectation that there is a result. If you don't perceive that result, you will feel bad, So the best is to just be yourself, living in and now, express yourself from that space, but with no expectations, letting go of even the idea that you're actually helping. Expectations are limitations. So you just feel to say that, and that's it. You don't identify with it, and you just send it out. This is how I see it, and that's it. You agree? Yes. You don't? Okay then. Does it serve you? Yes. If not, then yeah. That's all good. That's all good. So by doing that and having this approach, you just discharge some weight of that in carrying. The weight of saving or support. All right, very good point. Very interesting points. Anyone else would like to read something at this time? Understand, whatever you would say is all your expression. You cannot really talk about yourself. There is no concept that can define you. The only thing is you expressing some belief system, something related to your expression, and these things, your expression, your belief system, your identifications, this is not you. This is not what you are, so let go of fear of some judgment, because you are not these things.
How we identify so much with this role that we choose, this expression of us, because the mind is so tricky, We are always holding on, even if we know that we are this infinite being and living from this heart place, there is always this blah 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 in the mind that sometimes can trick this experience.
Yeah, I feel to interrupt you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You said one thing. The mind always. Right? So you understand the power of the words. If you say that, this is going to be your experience. Yeah. It's not always the mind, it's sometimes the mind. Right? Yeah. This is one of the things that more and more you're going to be aware of. And you're going to be very specific in the words you use. Yes. This comes naturally, understand. It's like an echo of your old version. It is the mind still functioning at a certain speed, meaning a certain number of thoughts by unit of time. And things can trigger you, and as an impact, becoming more and more impact, that's what I mean. You will start feeling more and more the energies of others, so it's easy to slide a bit. But once you realize that you slide, just come back to yourself. Yeah.
So it's just to understand you can switch on and off
Yes,
as you whenever you want.
yes,
I love this stuff.
yes. You can change anything whenever you want. I'll give you an example, quite interesting. Imagine someone is just relaxed at home and having a good time. The phone rings. There's someone on the other side says, well, I had an accident, the car and this. Automatically, the one receiving the call is going to step into fear. Automatically. So, but there is this belief that if one is not okay, to become okay, well, I'm working upon it. I'm in a process. You see? But in reality, he can also, by his choice, switch from a negative state to a positive state. It's the same effort. Yeah. Only presence is required.
So instead of allowing this outside world to come to us as an experience,
I'm
it's
sorry,
more about,
I didn't understood. Can you repeat?
yeah, it's more instead of allowing all the experience that we have outside coming into our being, it's more about bringing this presence to the outside, yeah, instead of bringing the outside to the inside.
It is both ways communication, and they should be allowed. But your perception of the outside, it depends of the frequency where you are vibrating. Yeah. In a low frequency, of course, consciousness will search to negative aspects. In a higher state, it perceives the positive ones. But the field is the same. And like I said, the experience comes from the interpretation, from the belief, from the frequency, from how you approach it, you know? Right? It's always negative aspects and positive aspects.
But isn't it in the end the same, negative and positive? Even we experience the darkness as maybe something more heavy in the light, something blissful and pleasurable.
They're not the same, no. They hold different frequencies and they cause different experiences. And they come from different spaces of awareness, consciousness. They are both valid, yes, but they're different.
They are all part from the same source.
Please, I don't know if we should avoid like that. If I address one soul, I only talk to one soul at a time. Otherwise, we get interference from, and I cannot really be specific in address. It's okay, it's all good. It's no wrong. Nothing's wrong. So, you're saying we're talking about validation, right? And you ask positive being same as negative. Yeah, they are not. Is anything else you feel to ask about this subject?
This is spontaneous.
Okay.
Because I'm always looking more for the light. So, but I think it's also important to go through the darkness to understand the light.
It's not just important, it's fundamental. I don't know if you were here when I mentioned this, I brought this aspect that I consider to be extremely relevant. This has to do with the acceptance of our darkness. But understand that darkness is not like to be a monster or things like this, my God, no. It has to do with some fear, some negative emotions, some reactions like jealousy and stuff like that, and some possession. It's part of the human experience, and it's about integrating those aspects, because as you do so, as you validate both sides, you move very fast into the space of neutrality. beyond duality. So if you feel that you don't like someone or something disturbs you, or you get triggered, don't be afraid to express that, but do it in a conscious way. Establishing your borders, tell things, I don't like this is not aligned with me. Don't be afraid at all to do that. Don't be afraid to be afraid. Because it's it's fundamental, like I said, it's more than important, because we, so to speak, we collective minds with all these souls, there is like a lot of fears within the fields, stuff from the past. It is fundamental to allow them to come into the surface, to be released, and not suppress them. You see? Yeah. Is there anything else you feel lost at this time? Does your mind bring you any aspect? Not at this time. Okay then. Yes. Does anyone would like to bring another subject? Some specific idea to explore?
Maybe I have, but I'm not sure if my English is enough.
Oh, but that's not a problem. We want to understand you for sure.
Okay, sometimes I started to have with some people feelings, like bad feelings. I start to be in fear, like I have a feeling the person is not very positive to me. And I was trying to tell it somehow to the person, but that person is like, she or he doesn't know what I want to tell. But I feel like the person knows the same, but the person wants to be more positive than me. So it's like, I don't know, I start to feel guilty because my negative emotions, and I start to feel really, really guilty, like...
You cannot respond. You cannot respond at the same level that the other soul does. Is this?
I cannot understand it.
Yeah. You say that you feel guilty?
Yeah.
It's because you cannot respond from the intention of the other soul, the positive intention? Is this what you say?
Maybe I start to be in fear because, for example, I have it with some family members from my boyfriend's family. Like I have a feeling they don't like me so much, but I am with them very often, and I start to feel really bad after some while. I don't know why, because I'm not like in a negative emotion, but I don't feel very free. I feel like I should have some border, but I don't have because I'm open, and I feel like it's like my not very strong point that I'm open, and I say sometimes negative emotion, also positive, but I don't want to hurt somebody. I just want to be open, but I feel like sometimes I cannot be open, and it's something I start to feel guilty and in fear.
I understand.
Yeah, I don't know what is it, why I have it.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you. I understood everything, you see.
Thank you.
Thank you too. Yes, you touched several points. So it depends from interaction to interaction. We can't just generalize, I'm going to bring a very interesting aspect, which is when a soul has a certain image, idea about another soul, it projects that image upon the other soul. Okay? So especially with parents, as they address their children, like after a few years not seeing each other, and they still perceive like their child. I mean, now it's not so child anymore, but they kind of see the other soul at that space. So they project a certain energy, This projection is powerful. How we see the others, It's like I said, if you see others as souls, as non-physical entities, you're going to project a very high frequency upon them. You're going to help them to raise their frequency. As an empath that you are, it is a challenge for you now to be more clear about the emotions that you're feeling, if they are yours or if they're coming from the others. You see, because you feel it within yourself as they would be yours, So this is something you need to be more clear. Also, there is no reason for you to feel guilty because you have only positive intentions. You do your best, so there is not really much space for guilt. And who knows, maybe the guilt that you felt, it's coming from them. Maybe they feel guilty, you see? So those interactions are important for you to clarify, what's yours and what's not. Having different interactions, being in a different spaces. And like I said before, if you interact with souls vibrating in a different frequency, there is this discomfort, there is this resistance to silence, there is the tension, some tension within the air. So this is a clear indicator of the energies that you're surrounded with, if they resonate with you or not. You don't have to force yourself to remain in places or interact with souls which energies do not resonate with you. How they interpret your attitudes to step away and be away has nothing to do with you. That has to do with their belief system. If they ask you and you speak from your own space, that's the only thing you can do in a way that they can understand. But if they don't understand, there is nothing you can do. What you can do is not hold to that guilt, because from what you said, there's no validity to it. Actually, guilt comes more from religion, guilty, innocent. This is really crap. There is no one guilty and no one innocent. We are all here to grow and to expand, and everyone is doing their best according to their belief system and the context. So, yes, there is not this idea of being guilty or being innocent. It's about being responsible or irresponsible, meaning responsible, meaning the ability to respond and not react, meaning unconscious response. But parents, family members, they are usually very challenging. Very challenging. Yeah. And as we raise our frequency, naturally there is some space that builds, because they share different realities. So it's just natural. Sometimes it's hard to accept this, because we live with them, we love them from our hearts, but to live and interact with some proximity, physical proximity, is actually a challenge. You want to ask anything else at this time?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
I've got something to do.
Yes, please, Richard.
You talk a little bit about the power of community, you know, like the dynamics of what happens when you come together as a group of people.
I mean, in this place where you are at this moment,
Yeah, well, yeah.
Paradise Island, you
I
mean?
guess that's why it's on my mind, you know, like
Oh.
what happens when, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like-minded people.
Yeah, thank you, yeah. Well, we live in Paradise Island, in a state of balance where spirituality is not something outside of our lives. It's just how we live. This spirituality has to do with living in the now and being yourself, being respectful, and open in terms of communication, mutual support, in a space of unity. And this makes it life very easy, very interesting, and very exciting. Cooperation instead of competition. For these relations to be experienced, one must be willing to do inner work. Open communication is required. And self-love, a lot of self-love, independence, trust. When I mean trust, has to do not a blind trust, not related to some religious faith, but trust that comes from knowledge, understanding how the universe works, how we work, and how different energy fields interact with themselves. Understanding that if around you there are souls in a negative state, you are experiencing part of their suffering. So the idea is to contribute to the positive field around you, that more people are happy around you, more positive energy is going to be around you. Everybody wins with this. Within the matrix, they brought this separation that resulted in the experience of the survival mode. So to go in the opposite direction is to get together and support each other materialistically, emotionally, and makes life, like I said, very enjoyable and very easy. Like a star family, I would see it a different level of family. Yeah, where there is not so much identifications, meaning egos, so there's not so many triggers, and it makes it very, very interesting. Don't you agree, Richard?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you define matrix. I was thinking some of the people who might not grasp that term.
Yes. Well, matrix, from my perspective, has been and still is a problem of control and manipulation of the human civilization, and it's breaking down at this moment as we speak. And which objectives has to do with the harvesting of energy, keeping humanity in an unconscious state, vibrating in the lower chakras, and that implies a slave system and vampiric relations within society. Yeah, that's what I perceive to be a matrix, and it starts in school, by suppressing the feminine side and allowing the rational to come forwards, and to suppress individuality, and as much as possible to make it difficulty for the souls to experience unity. So this is the darkness I see in the planet. Everyone has the responsibility to do their inner work, to go beyond that space of separation, at least experience, of course, and be an example for others. Again, to establish the balance that was lost. And I have to say also that I'm not pessimist or optimist. I try to be as realistic as possible and within my perception. Yeah, things are getting very balanced. Energies are increasing, as most of you probably agree. The frequency of the planet is increasing. So, time to celebrate. Yeah. This agenda, this matrix, has also positive aspects into it. One of the aspects is that it has been so challenging that allowed much growth, and also test in a strong way this human experience, the souls, subject to all this negativity, have been holding on to and manage from within all that darkness to actually find the light within themselves. And that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I feel to say that all these religious beliefs where God is outside of yourself must be left behind. All these preconcepts related to shame and guilt must be left behind. There is no truth within that. That's how they trap so many souls. Like the middleman to God. You want to talk to God, talk to us. No, you are God itself. God is not a person sitting in a chair and judging you with human attributes. This is ridiculous. This is extremely primitive. This is a joke. Time to grow up. That's really what I have to say. There's no other way to say this. Yeah, it's just a joke.
Could it be that, can I ask a question?
Yes, of course, go ahead.
Could it be
Oh,
that,
I'm sorry. Richard, do you have anything else to say? Sorry.
Just clarify.
Yes.
Like just briefly, but then living in community. It's almost like an antidote to living in the matrix, but it's more than that. It's actually what the natural state of being would be before you're tainted and pulled into the matrix. I understand it right.
I didn't really get it. Can you repeat, Richard, please?
So living in community
Yes.
is in some ways an antidote to living in the matrix. But it's actually more than that. It's what we were originally designed to do and be, would you say?
Oh, perfectly. I agree 100%. Yeah, 100%. Our DNA makeup was made for us to live in tribes, live in communities, to support each other, to be connected to nature, work within nature, support nature and be supported by nature. This is what we do in Paradise Island. This is our essence. This is our natural state. This is our natural way to relate to others, where we experience abundance. There is no lack. in harmony within all the other life forms, in harmony within the rhythms of nature, with the seasons, with the weather, learning from nature. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. In a way, from society, the ones who are still brainwashed, they would see like going back to nature, grow your own foods. It's somehow going back. But it is not. It is going back, yes, to your roots, to your essence, to your nature. That's the only way that can be seen as going back. But in terms of evolution, is moving forwards. Definitely. Yes. Thank you. So you were saying.
Yeah, about this dark age that you were talking about. I'm wondering if it's not something that goes in cycles. There's a dark age, and then from it comes the light, and then at a certain point, this light will have to go back to the dark again, and from that will come a new light.
Yes.
So
It's a dance.
So it's actually like, okay, dark.
It's part. Yes.
And,
Exactly. It's a dance. Ups and downs, and cycles upon cycles. Yes. Time is not linear. And there are these parallel universes, parallel realities. So, yeah, there is nothing actually wrong with anything. Understanding that any time you step into dualistic concepts, there is some sort of limitation. This duality only applies to the illusion, meaning creation, not existence. It's part of the game. It's the way that all there is has to get to know itself better. Yes. Yes. It's about validation. Does anyone would like to bring some other aspect at this time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
New thing.
Yes.
How may we clearly discern and differentiate between romance, infatuation, attachment, codependency, and mutually positive relationship?
How do you what? Sorry? How do you cope with?
How can we clearly discern and differentiate between codependency, romance, infatuation, these kinds of relationships?
Very interesting
and
point.
mutually servicing, mutually beneficial relationships that support everybody involved.
Beautiful. Very interesting point. Very interesting point. Understand that any time you define the relation, you limit the relation. You can have relations with no definition. No projection, even in time-space, perceived within the now. Because those definitions, they come with certain specifications where you feel obliged to act according to it. You see? Understand that in every relation there is a mutual growth, conscious and unconscious. And as you vibrate in a certain frequency, you can perceive what's below, not what's above. But from where you vibrate, you can perceive levels, right? And you can perceive levels that you overcome. Being in love and all this marriage, and you met for me, and I'm gonna live with you happy forever, and you're gonna have children, yeah? So this sort of old belief, you overcome them. You can perceive from a lower frequency that you become insensitive, but in reality not. You just expand. This expansion has to do with you tapping into your infinite space of love, where you don't just squeeze your love just to that specific partner. And the rest of the time, you keep your heart shut. See? So
without any projections into the future, let's say I want to be with somebody, but as soon as the mind enters and the future is perceived, it seems that being with that somebody will cause distress, will cause pain and unpleasant situation, and thus the projection to the future limits the expression in the moment.
yes.
Are you saying that we should just ignore those projections even if they feel very probable and invite potential or sometimes almost certain future pain for the sake of the feeling in the moment?
Well, the idea is that you live in the moment, you follow what you feel. But if you establish a relation, depending on the level of the relation, it's important to be within harmony with the other, in alignment, right? It's not that we should kind of forget about the future like it wouldn't exist. That will come from the now. It's important to have at least common guidelines, talking about intimate relations, of course. If at a certain point there is no alignment, then naturally you would split, so to speak, and you move in different directions. But this is very subjective. It must be decided not just from a mental space, but also again from a heart space. From a space of open communication. It's very sensitive and should be approached by oneself specifically. But yes, generally, anytime you define the relation as boyfriend, husband, colleague, like this, there are different concepts for relations, but all concepts, they apply a certain level of limitation. Yes. What you can establish, my opinion, and we should, is establish guidelines, borders with the people that we maintain those intimate relations. So we have a common space. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to manage and to actually go deep into that relation, creating deeper connections and bonds with other souls. It's important to from a space of open communication, to establish those guidelines. From a space of exploration, of course. From a space of mutual growth. Yeah. From a space of awareness, basically. In relations, I see it like you hold someone in your hand, so to speak. If you hold too tight, it's unpleasant. If you open too much, there is not this caring, so it's a balance. You just hold it in your hand, and if anyone wants to go, is free to go. There is nothing preventing, but there is this little closeness which is caring, not suppressive. And if someone moves away physically from your life, doesn't share your physical reality, it doesn't mean that you still don't love that soul. That soul can be held within your heart. And this is, I feel like, important that we allow souls to move away from our lives, or we move away from their lives, but they remain in our heart. You know, it's just the way it is. And who knows? Maybe there is some alignment in the future, maybe not. You know. Yeah. I don't know if this assists you in your question, or is something more specific that you meant.
No, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Very interesting. Society has been conditioned for so many years in terms of how we should relate and not relate into these boxes, you know, that now we are exploring, you know, our true nature and how to relate from different space. And yeah, we all together on this, and we're experimenting and exploring. And with that, with the learning from that exploration, we are then an example, and we can share our own experience with others. And this is something that is happening now within this planet. And what does not resonate, it separates. It cannot be sustained within the same field, physical space. Therefore, we gravitate to other spaces, to other souls that resonate with us. So there's a lot of pain, a lot of difficulty to deal with this moment of transformation, as you guys probably noticed. It's exciting. Otherwise it would get too boring for us. We don't want that. Does anyone would like to take this opportunity to bring some other aspects to explore at this time? Well, then I say thank you very much for this interaction. As always, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.